appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And my perspective, as Kim indicated, is primarily as a planner, although I've taken on this role with energy and debt. And if you'd like to know more about what we're doing, go to our website, eidmarcellus.org. First of all, one of the reasons I got involved in this whole thing as a consulting assignment was my passion for seeing this happen in our area. I'm from Wayne County, which is in northeastern Pennsylvania. We're in the Delaware River Basin Commission, which is the one area of the state that doesn't have gas drilling yet. And we desperately want it. We desperately need it. I have signed a lease myself, and I became aware a few years ago that it wasn't just going to happen automatically. We had to fight for it. So that's how I got involved. And one of the reasons I feel this way is the reality of what I've seen as a planner, and that is the fact that Pennsylvania is, other than this gas industry, is in deep, deep trouble. If you look at from 1990 to 2000 census statistics, you'll see that Pennsylvania was the only state that grew slower than Pennsylvania was North Dakota. Now, what's happened since then? North Dakota has taken off. And why? Because of oil and gas. And we are a high-tax state. We had some advantages over New York and New Jersey because they're higher still. But quite frankly, we lost a lot of those advantages over the last decade. And we have the highest corporate tax, I believe, in the nation. We have serious impediments, and we do not have the same advantage over New York and New Jersey we once had. And if you look at western New York and western Pennsylvania, what was happening? They were emptying out. I did some consulting work out in Oil City where they were trying to recover. This was pre-gas now, where they were trying to recover. And you could buy a house for next to nothing out there because there was just so little demand. And we saw this throughout. If you look at a map of population density changes, there's virtually nothing happening outside of what was an extension of suburban Washington, an extension of suburban Philadelphia, and an extension of suburban New York. Other than that, there was nothing happening in Pennsylvania. So we desperately need this. We've seen not only the state emptying out, but we've seen a lot of demographic changes. We're getting rapidly older. And you see this even in Pike County, which is not only the fastest growing county in Pennsylvania, but one of the fastest growing in the entire nation for several decades now. You can see that what once was a concern over having to build so many schools, that the population was mushrooming and we were getting all these school kids. All of a sudden, about 5 or 6 years ago, we started to see, even in Pike County, that the trend changed. All of a sudden, school enrollment peaked, even as population was increasing. We're seeing the number of people who are 65 and over skyrocket, and the number of people of school age plummet. That's not good. It's very bad. And I don't need to tell you why. The gas is about the only thing that's really saving our economy. And just to give you a few more stats, the 9 of the fastest growing jobs in the U.S. in the last couple of years are in the oil and gas industry. And that's 9 out of, I think, 11 of the top fastest growing are in the oil and gas industry. 41% jump in oil and gas jobs in Pennsylvania since 2008, 41% increase. There's a potential for 180,000 new jobs in the industry by 2012. We're also seeing our colleges now, Lackawanna College, for example, Penn College is another, both starting to shift their entire curriculums to address the needs of the gas industry. Wonderful thing. We're seeing $3.9 billion of added value in Pennsylvania in 2009, $8 billion in 2010. That's how much of a difference this industry is making to the economy of this area. And it's now, this was as of 2009, 2.4% of Pennsylvania's employment. That's a lot. One industry is 2.4% in 2009. Think what it is in 2010 and where it's going. We are rapidly on our way to becoming second only to Texas in terms of our oil and gas industry. Back where we started, when John D. Rockefeller had his office in Oil City on the 4th floor of the transit building. I don't know if anybody's here from Venango County. We also see that 1/3 of Bradford County businesses are seeing job growth. Half of the financial businesses said they saw gains in sales. 44% of retail, 38% of eating places, 1/3 of the wholesale businesses. I suspect it's even higher. That's from 2009. There's also growth in tourism in Bradford. That's also increased simultaneously with all this. And the one thing you notice, we talked about the traffic jam in Towanda. I've experienced that a couple times in Wysox, the half hour. Yeah, that's just exactly right. But it's palpable prosperity. That's the term I use. You cannot drive into Towanda, you cannot drive into Montrose, you cannot drive into Tunkhannock without seeing palpable prosperity, which is what is necessary. All these other things are wrinkles. What you need is the prosperity. And gas is balancing out the economy and the population. Gas is going to bring some younger people, some younger households. We desperately need to fill these schools and keep the school infrastructure. It's going to balance out the cultural things. Is it going to create some conflicts along the way? Yes. And I heard a couple references to people moving back. Those are the worst people. And somebody who there's no bigger NIMBY than somebody who spent his childhood in a place and then moves back after retirement. No bigger NIMBY ever created than one of those people. So, and I'm right. And we need something to balance those people. We don't need people my age. We need younger people who are gonna be seeking jobs, not retirement, and seeking jobs, not aesthetics. It's not that we're against aesthetics. It's not that we're against the environment. But we need people in these communities who need jobs, who are looking to a future that is dependent upon jobs. That's the balance we need, and gas is providing that. I would also point out that this is a great opportunity to provide for some of the skills we naturally have, particularly if you're in an area like Wayne County, where we had a heavy dependence on second home businesses and construction activity, which we know where that's gone. That's disappeared totally. We need something to replace that. We have people with construction skills, and a lot of them, even though we don't have gas yet, have been put to work building well pads over in Susquehanna County and doing trucking. My brother works at a quarry. His job has been made better by having that opportunity next door. And this is the way we bring the kids back, the way we keep the kids here. It's very important for all those reasons, and I think there's been enough said about creating the demand for housing. I've done a number of market research studies for housing projects over the years for very large firms in New Jersey and New York, Pennsylvania, and I've not done one of those for the last 2 or 3 years, other than some very minor things. I just, last week, got my first request for a market research study for a new housing development in central Pennsylvania, and it's directly related to the gas and oil business. So this is what it's about, folks. If you want to sell houses, you've got to get on the train for this business. It may have created some issues along the way, but this is the way to go for the future. I'm also doing some work right now looking at property values that we do actually for the federal government. It's a long story, but we did it last year and we did it this year. We're in the midst of doing it right now where we look at property values. And one of the things we find, and again, not to repeat what the others have said, but if you look at the regions of the state, we're doing it for all of Pennsylvania, and the only areas with increases in property values or that are holding their own are the ones with oil and gas. That's the only place you find property values, and it's what was said earlier. And if you look at Bradford or Susquehanna County, in 3 years ago, the average number that we came up with for properties over 10 acres was $3,278 per acre. Now that's across the board. It's an average of all properties of that nature. Last year it was $4,512, and this year we're coming up with $4,993 per acre. That's what's happening in Susquehanna County. I think it mirrors what's happening in Bradford. We may even be a little bit above that, but it tells you what the impact this industry has had. The issues that have been mentioned are all real issues, but we've heard a lot of nonsense. Nicole Jacobs was with me here today. She and I were at a meeting last night in Newton Township, Lackawanna County. We heard anti-gas people throwing around figures and saying only 10% of the workers are local, only 10% of the economy, the money stays here. It's absolute nonsense. And we've heard all these mortgage issues. Yes, there's a learning curve. I think the speakers earlier referred to that. There's definitely a learning curve. But one of the biggest problems, Tony Ventella from Bradford County told us about this, one of the biggest problems in Bradford County with the banks is not the issuance of mortgages. It's the fact that they can't put the money out fast enough. They're bringing it in too fast. Yeah. They're bringing it in too fast, and they can't put it out. They would love to put it out faster. So this is the